Their firm wedding, lots of fun.
What's going on?
It's been a while.
It has been a while. Yeah, I saw a few of you guys down at the Senior Bowl. No, it's been good.
Which players did you end up drafting?
From the Senior Bowl, they were on my team. I don't think we drafted any players that were on my team. We did obviously draft Dylan.
Gabriel on your team?
No, he was on the other team. He actually generated a pretty good opening drive that they scored on too against us.
Did you have the opportunity to spend any time with them, or were you just with your players?
We had interactions down there in passing. You know, I got to know a decent amount of players on both teams. So
When the draft discussions took place, did you contribute to them regarding him?
Oh, regarding Dylan, no.
How was that whole experience for you?
It was a great experience. It really was. Well, first off, it really jump-started the evaluation process for me. Spent a lot of time evaluating the players that were going to be on my team, and then obviously getting to know those guys, see them interact in a team setting amongst their peers in meetings and things like that, practice. You could hear a lot of the communication at practice amongst those guys. So it was definitely a really beneficial tool and resource for me.
So DeAndre Carter,
Yeah.
tell us about him as a returner. Does he go into this offseason as the number one guy?
Yeah, so I had DC his rookie year. We had him on practice squad in New England, so me and CO were pretty familiar with him. Extremely hard worker, undrafted kid that has a lot of talent and experience. He's done a really good job. He's been a combo returner since he's been in the league. Had a lot of production. Last year he had good production in the kick return game. So, I mean, I would say that he's at the top of the depth chart for us right now in both of those phases.
Over 30. Has he got gas in the tank?
He's got gas in the tank. Yeah, if you watch the film from last year, I think that you can see he's got the same type of run style, the same type of mentality that he had, you know, when he had production early in his career. So.
But what about Dustin? Obviously, last year he goes through those struggles late in the season. Like, what have your discussions been like with him so far this offseason and during this period?
Yeah, I think with any player, you know, it's a new season. Everything that you've done in the past, obviously those things contribute and matter, but you know, we're clean slate. I feel like he's in a good space mentally. I think that he has hit the ball well in the spring to this point. Had a nice day yesterday, and we're just going to keep working it like we have, and understand that it's a process, and we're going to get to where we're going.
Was he not in a good space mentally last year then, are you saying?
I'm not saying that he wasn't in a good space mentally, but when you're having that many missed kicks, you know, and the results aren't coming, and you're putting in the time and effort, you can be a little bit, you know, inconsistent there relative to the situation. So
Back to DC for 1 second.
yeah.
Has the return game been a source of frustration to you for 2 years?
I would say we've left too many yards out there. Yeah, I think we've left too many yards out there for sure. I think having consistency at that position is definitely going to help us.
Does that mean having the same guy rather than a group of guys?
Not necessarily the same guy has to do both phases. I think that when one guy is doing both phases, you do have a little bit more consistency.
Well, you've got a year now of data from the new kickoff.
Yeah.
How much did that make ease this season in terms of this offseason, sort of, you know, how to adjust, what set things up and all that?
Yeah, so we hired a new assistant special teams coach, Kyle Hoke. So we did a lot of research that actually was tag team with, I would say, our analytics department on, you know, the data relative to where the ball's kicked, caught, all that stuff, and then going back and looking at the techniques that go into the play. I feel like we have a much better grasp on how we want to attack that play. So looking forward to applying everything, not only in the OTAs, but obviously moving into training camp and then preseason and the regular season.
So kicking off in the 25, what will be the result of that, do you think?
I'm sorry.
Are we kicking off from the 25-yard line now? Or what was it? Was it moved to?
No, so the only thing that has changed is where the touchback is going to go to. The touchback will now go to the 35. No, the kickoff will stay from the minus 35, and then the touchback moves to the 35-yard line.
What do you think that will result in?
I think ultimately you're gonna have a lot more return kicks.
I think Flory is a local guy that we saw make some plays as a receiver, but I know he's been working special teams unit for you guys as well. What have you seen from his contributions early on?
I would say, well, the first thing is I think he's done a really good job relative to just giving good looks. He's done a good job. The effort's been good. He's a ball handler. He's got pretty good hands. A little bit smaller of a guy, but he's got good quickness. So he's been receptive to everything we're trying to do.
You guys lost a lot of.
No, look, you're interrupting the award winner here now. You can't do that. You kind of there's a hierarchy here now, right? Is that the proper term? Okay. Mary Kay,
Yes.
you got it next. I got you next.
Sorry about that, Daniel. So what gets you excited and fired up about the fact that that teams are just going to be so much better this year than they were last year?
Yeah, I think that first off, we have some carryover from last season. We developed a good amount of young players that contributed for us. Winston, Buki, guys like that, even guys like Chris Edmonds that are coming back, that have done a good job in the spring. And I would just say the buy-in. I feel like with our whole team, not just the kicking game, I feel the players are bought in on making it harder and just working harder. And I think that our Kevin's done a really good job sending a message on how we need to attack this season, this off-season program, obviously into training camp in the season, but I feel like our whole team coaching staff understands like what we need to do.
Bubba, you guys lost a lot of contributors on the special team. Came from Rodney to
Yeah.
Anthony. Who's really next up to kind of fill some of those voids on special teams?
Yeah, I think we're gonna see here once we get into training camp, and we're like truly have competition at every single position pretty much. We have a really good linebacker room, the safety position. There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of opportunity in those positions for the big four. Even at corner, there's a lot of spots that are available. I mean, you lose Mike D Bell; those are two of your top guys. So someone's going to have to step up.
Of the 5 rookie draft picks, not quarterbacks, which will be predominant on special teams?
I think we'll get contributions from all the guys that aren't quarterbacks, honestly, in some capacity. Probably less from Mason than the others, but look, Carson was a walk-on at UCLA, so he's got a 4-phase background. That's what he did. I mean, he was a 4-phase contributor at UCLA, had a lot of production, got opportunities to play defense. So I see that guy being a guy that will play for us, especially early. Harold Fannin didn't have a lot of experience, but things he did at the Senior Bowl were noticeable. So I think that he's got a skill set that we'll be able to work with. And then we signed a good amount of undrafted players that I think that will compete to earn spots. In the 2 running backs, yeah. So we're going to continue to work those guys in the ball handling area. Both of those guys will factor back there. Sampson will do some kick return stuff. Judkins will do some kick return stuff. So.
Well, about a lot of kickers don't survive what Dustin went through last year. So why do you guys have so much faith?
Yeah, I think that he's been consistent in his entire career. He really has. He had a great year in 23. For whatever reason, did not have a great year this past year, and I think that he's put it to bed. And as long as the player is, focused on the task at hand, and I think that he's done that. His preparation, he's in really good shape. He's lean. He's strong. Really don't see any changes in his kicking mechanics, ball elevation, anything. So I feel like he's in a good. I really do. I feel like he's in a good spot.
But just to follow up on that, Bubba, historically, 23 was an outlier for his beyond 50-yard kicks. So Was it something special that you guys did that year, or?
No, I don't think so. I think that obviously he connected on them better. He just did. Sometimes it's just like that, you know. Sometimes you get sometimes in sports you get in a little bit of a slump. I mean, there's guys that bat over 300 for their whole careers and get into a slump for a while. I think that we're just trying to find our way out of it.
Bubba, with Charlie gone now, and you guys bring Rex back, you bring Brent in at long snapper. Like, what do you need to see out of those guys in that position throughout the summer?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things at that position. It's good to have competition at every position, as long as the roster can handle it. We felt like at that position we needed to have some competition. Obviously, snapping is a big evaluation of that position. Ability to protect, ability to cover, all those things will factor into making a decision on that.
You talked about Kevin just setting the intensity for this offseason and feeling like the guys are brought in. Is that a notable difference from this time last year? Do you recognize that it feels different, or does it not?
I think it does feel different. I do. I think it feels different when you finish a season like we did. You know, and not really talking about last season, but nobody was happy with how that season played out, and everyone's doing our best to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Would you have been in favor of kicking off from the 30 or even the 25?
I would have been in favor of kicking off from the 30. The thing that I actually wanted was, so now if the ball falls short of the landing zone, if the ball falls short of the 20-yard line, so last year the rules were the ball would be placed at the 40-yard line. If the ball's kicked out of bounds, the ball's placed at the 40-yard line. Now the touchback goes to the 35. If the ball falls short of the landing zone, the ball still goes to the 40. I wanted it to be the 45 or the 50 to discourage any type of like alternative line drive kicks, things like that, because you're really only sacrificing five yards. So I wanted the penalty to be greater. That way the play's clean and it just looks better. So.
Do you expect ball placement be an issue for these kickers? I think we saw last year, like, not a lot of kickers were kicking into the end zone and they're really getting short, kind of 10 yards short or such. Kind of hard to get in between that in between.
Yeah, no, I don't. I really don't. I don't see it. And to your point, I don't see a lot of. This year, I don't see a lot of teams kicking touchbacks, trying to kick the ball into the end zone. I think regardless of what the schemes or the rules are, I think it's hard to return a ball past the 35-yard line. So if you can tackle it inside the 35, it's technically a win. So.
Well, but last year, at some point, you mentioned the two spot during practice, and
yeah.
You guys have gone to that.
Yeah.
You know, mostly to get the quarterback's reps. But did you talk to Kevin about the value you see in that?
We've talked about past experiences. Yeah, when I played in San Francisco, we two spotted quite a bit, and we talked about building a callus on our bodies and being in better condition and better shape. And I think that when you're able to do that, if you have the numbers to do it, and obviously we have 4 quarterbacks now that we're trying to get reps to, but I think that if you're able to handle it, the volume. It enables you to build conditioning amongst your team, and everybody's getting the experience and the reps and the running at the same time. So, look, you can't two-spot every single drill, but I think that'll be something that we'll look at going into camp.
Got time for one more?
Is Deontay someone that can help you in the return game?
Yeah, he's I was actually, this is funny, so 2019 I was at his pro day at Toledo scouting him and another player that I ended up signing in Indy, Ashton Dolan. But yeah, he's had production in his career. He was actually, I think he was a All-Pro, second-team All-Pro, maybe his rookie season. But super good, like great hands, has really good ability to make miss, quick and fast, good vision. So he'll definitely be a guy that will factor.
Thanks, Bo.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks.
I stopped it.
Oh, thank you.
It starts at 11:30.
Okay.
So, okay, guys, haven't seen you guys for a while.
Jim, when you watched Mason Graham, who from your past came to mind?
I don't know. I've had a lot of good defensive tackles over the years, and this game has featured a lot of those guys. It allows them to penetrate, play without handcuffs, and make some impacts. I think he can fall in to that category. We'll leave who he reminds us of when he starts playing and starts making plays.
Hey, Jim, I'm sure you were unhappy with the statistical results last year for the defense. So what can happen this year to get you guys back to the way you were in 2023?
Yeah, I think a couple things to go with were just things that end drives. Third down percentage had dropped from number one from the year before, and then takeaways. Both of those things obviously end drives. We're trying to get off the field with no points allowed, and those are the things that we're putting a big emphasis on this year. We emphasized them last year, but those are areas that we have to improve.
So how do you do that, though, is the question?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different things. Turnovers go a lot of different ways. We work a lot of different techniques for turnovers. A lot of turnovers are because of rush on the quarterback, and we got to improve there from last year. Get our rush percentage up. Being around the quarterback is a good formula for takeaway. Team speed is is a good formula for taking the ball away, and physical contact, which we're not working on right now. But guys that play physical nature of football, they have a habit of forcing turnovers. So if we can do those things, we can have good technique to punch balls out, force fumbles. We can play physically, we can play fast, and we can rush the passer. We're around the quarterback. I think the turnovers will take care of themselves.
Can you address just how disappointed you were when JOK had to miss the season, and when he seemed to be hitting his stride, and then also how has Carson looked so far?
Yeah, JOK was on his way to an all-pro season last year. He had really reached that level. We had talked this time last year about the biggest jump between being a starter and then being a Pro Bowl player. There's even a bigger jump to being an all-pro player. And it was really disappointing to lose him because he had, like you said, he had really hit his stride as a player. He'd had some sort of growing pains and some ups and downs, but he really fit the scheme well. He does fit the scheme well. His ability to blitz and rush the passer, and he made coverage look easy. He had just the game had slowed down for him, and so all those things together, it's disappointing to lose a player like that. But we support JOK and everything that he does, and he'll still have a big impact on our team this year. It's not going to be playing, but he'll still have a big presence on our team. And I don't know what's going on. Carson, like a little bit like Mason, it's hard to see, where they are right now, but he's working really hard. He picks things up really fast, and he's big and he's athletic, so he's got a lot of good things going for him.
Do you believe a good penetrating defensive tackle can have a bigger impact on Garrett than a complementary edge rusher?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can look at that, but Miles sees a lot of double-team chips. But a thing that goes a little bit unnoticed is he sees so much center slide too, which lets the tackle overset him because the guard is there to play all the inside moves. So in essence, a lot of times you can be triple-teamed on those plays. And the best way to combat that is have a pass rusher that's on the opposite side that can make offenses pay for singling up a defensive tackle on a guard. And like I said, in my history, I've had a lot of guys that can do that. Most recently, guys like Fletcher Cox in Philadelphia that could do that. So, and you're closer to the quarterback when you're a tackle. But there's only a few ways you can really combat a defensive tackle. And One of those is the center slide, and the centers always slide into Miles. That provides a lot of opportunities for a player there, and we have to take advantage. We have to take better advantage of those situations than we did last year.
With Mason and what he did at Michigan, I mean, it seemed like that defensive scheme, so a lot of his responsibility was eating up blocks. I mean, he got after quarterbacks, but how, I guess, excited does that make you to get him in this system where he doesn't have to do all that stuff all the time?
Yeah, it's been an adjustment for him just because the style of play, reading blocks, and like you said, protecting linebackers and things like that. That's not what we do. We're a penetrating team that makes a big emphasis on defensive linemen being able to make the plays. So there has been some growing pains. He's pretty far ahead right now. When we get pads on, that'll be the next step, and then when you go live contact, that'll be a next step. So it'll be a process for him. I do think there's a lot of meat on the bone as far as his production, and we can see better production from him than even we saw. And he had outstanding production in college, but I think there's some meat on the bone that he can even have have a chance to make more plays here.
How much, if at all, does OTA attendance matter to you for a player like Miles?
I don't know. I mean, this is a voluntary portion. We know Miles works hard no matter where he is, no matter what time the season is. So, he's a veteran player that's proven himself in this league. We have a lot of guys out here who are trying to reach that level. And, they're working hard every day to do that. So every player is a little bit different. But this is a voluntary part of the schedule. And we're happy with the guys that are here, and they're all working really hard.
What was going through your head, Jim, when you saw, Miles request that trade, and then to get the extension worked out? Now, what are your expectations for him moving forward?
Yeah, I really think Miles is going to have the best season of his career, and has to, right? I've told him before, what's that Spider-Man quote? With great power comes great responsibility, right? And that's with the big contract, with the notoriety that came along with that, and with the process that took to get him to that point. There also comes, there's always pressure in this league, but probably a little bit more so. And I think that brings out the best in players. And I know that'll be the case with Miles also.
Can any of your free safeties be a ball hawk?
Yeah. I think some of being a ball hawk has to do with pass rush, but guys that are wired to the ball that, that can get an extra jump on the ball. We didn't do enough of that in the past, and, that's certainly a position we can improve on. And, we talked about things we can improve on from last year. Turnovers and things like that mean a lot. But, so many of those deep ball things come from ball coming out before the quarterback wants to, or being hit before as he's throwing. They both work hand in hand. A guy in the back end, like in this stuff, you're not going to see very many interceptions. Now because quarterbacks aren't being hit when they throw, and they're not being forced to throw before they want to. So it all sort of goes hand in hand.
Hey, along those lines, what would you say Ronnie Hickman's best attribute is? He kind of
Yeah, he's always been a ball hawk. Last year, there was some injuries things that kept him from being on the field. This is a really big season. He's in his third year. He should really hit his stride for us. We're surrounding him with some veteran players. Brought Rayshawn in, brought Casey in. Have Grant returning. We're a safety-heavy team. We run a lot of three safety system, but we need Ronnie to really bring it all together. Showed really good flashes as a rookie. And he played well when he was on the field last year, but we just need him on the field a little bit more. He's a little bit bigger now. I don't know if you guys notice him. Physical stature, he's a little bit more, and he's still moving just as well. And I tell players all the time, we want guys as big as they can, running the fastest that they can. Basically means that if you put weight on and it slows you down, or put size on and it slows you down, that wasn't good weight to add. But he's maintained his movement metrics while gaining a little bit, and I think that'll help him.
What can younger players learn from Denzel Ward in this setting?
Yeah, I mean, you learn something from everybody, whether it's a Jordan Hicks or a Denzel Ward or, it doesn't matter. You can learn from offensive guys, not just technique in your own position, but, just the way you handle your business, the way you go about things. There's a lot of places for people to learn, and Denzel's a great example. He had a drive and break on the ball. I don't think you guys were out there. That was as good as I've ever seen. And a little bit like we talked about before with, finishing plays for turnovers. Denzel got his hands on a lot of passes last year, and we need to convert more of those to interceptions, and that's the difference between Pro Bowl and All-Pro. The game-changing play. The PBU is big for us, but we need to get more of the INTs, and he's made a big push to convert more of those to INTs, and we need that to show on the field this fall.
We got time for two more?
Jim, Michael, for a variety of reasons, wasn't able to get a lot of time on the field, or as much time as you guys obviously wanted out of him in his rookie year. How important is this season for him in terms of his development and what you guys hope he can be?
Yeah, I mean, just like any players, I would say this. We talked about Ronnie. It should all come together in year 3. But I do think the biggest improvement you see from players is year 1 to year 2, right? You see rookies here. They don't, everything is new to them. Standing in front of you guys, everything they do is new. And the second year they come back, they know what to expect, and I think you see the most improvement. We need that from Mike this year. He's been set back with an injury, but he's been working extremely hard to come back from it, and we're real hopeful to get him back on the field and see what he can do.
Last one.
KZ led the NFL in interceptions with Atlanta. Does he still have that game?
Well, we'll see. Like I said, this time of year is more about individual improvement. You'll see some times out there where, you see players that will avoid contact and plays they could make or hits they could make, and that's not the time of year for it. So it's probably too much to read into it right now, but through training camp, through the preseason, through the course of the season, I mean, that's where the proof will be. All right, guys. I got to go.
Thank you.
Oh, Murph. There's a little drag in there, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, take your pick.